Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of The Other Side of Addiction. I am your host, Al Richards, and we are joined today here with my lovely wife, co-hosting again, Janan.
Hello.
So, before we start out the show and introduce our guest today, you guys have heard us talk about stigma on the show quite a bit. And I'm one of those guys who really want to change that. Matter of fact, that's one of the missions we have by doing this show. It's also something here at Resilience Talk Network that we want to get a message out. When I'm talking about the stigma, what's the percentage of society out there looking at the drugs and the alcoholics or the druggies and the alcoholics and people who are suffering, and they think it's just that, exactly right, the drugs and the alcohol, when a lot of times, matter of fact, I think the majority of the time, these people have been suffering from mental health. There's trauma. There's a lot of anger. If you guys really watch this show and you watch the people that we've had on guests, some have been sexually abused at a very young age. Some have had a parent leave, whether it's a mom or a dad at a young age. It traumatizes us, right? We don't realize how deep it goes until we start getting up there in age. And what's crazy is one thing that I have really paid attention to. The majority of our guests that have come on the show, their addiction started right around puberty time. We're talking between the ages to 11 to 14. And it's when our minds start changing, right? Chemicals start happening in our bodies. And it's like we know we're suffering from something. We just can't figure out what it is. And what else is there to do, man? We want to cover it up, right? I covered up a lot of my stress and a lot of my trauma that I had, with alcohol and cocaine. I did it every weekend for about 8 years, not realizing that was actually the reason why I was doing it. I was doing it just to release some stress. But as I've really started digging deep, I started realizing there was some other things that was there. It just wasn't the stress from work. So today's guest is someone that is usually behind the scenes. You guys don't see him very often. However, he has been a guest co-host, and he's been an awesome guest co-host on the show. We've got Mason Neufeld with us today. Mason.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's an honor and a pleasure. Hey, crowd, how you doing?
I love it. It is a pleasure having you. Yeah, we've got. Do we have any of those little things that they used to do? Mason, and when I got here to the studio this morning, you and I were chatting just real quickly before we started getting things set up, where you wanted to go with this. And stigma is something that you really want to talk about, as well as mental health. Mm-hmm. Which direction would you like to go to first? You want to hit into the stigma or...
Well, kind of both.
Okay, let's do it.
My thing is, I think everyone has a mental illness of some sort, but I don't feel like it's an illness. I don't feel like they're diseases. You can't catch them. You have them, or certain situations cause you to have them. And people tend to use substances or other things to cover them up. Because my thing is, even though it's not a substance, everyone finds an addiction to cover something up.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the huge stigma that people get wrong, because there are some people who might not have a mental illness. We find something to cover something up or to take place of something that we are ashamed of, we don't want to worry about, we don't even want to think about. And yes, substances bad, of course, because they can lead you down a wrong road. There are people though who do substances who are still just living their life completely normal, and they're like, I'm not addicted, I'm fine, look at my successful life.
I was one.
Yeah, it's see, I'm completely fine, I'm not addicted. Right. And so me, I sat with myself, because with my I guess addiction phase was quite a while. It started at 14, 15. I had a lot going on. I was sexually abused when I was younger. And my friend, I was just dude, what is going on? And he was just try this. And I tried it, and it was my saving grace at that point. Like nothing,
That's what it's like,
nothing
yes.
really worked. Like my brain was attacking me, like my body was attacking me, and I didn't know what to do. And so like, there's my friend, there's that, and here's this. Like no difference with like going to a doctor and be like, this is my problem. They're like, here's this.
Here you go.
Here's this. Like, you know, I had like my own doctor, and like that, like cannabis helped me at that time, and it like continued to help me. Then I just ran into other things like where substances didn't work anymore. Like, so like that's what led me to getting off of the substances, for the most part. And like, I'll lead into that. 'Cause at first they were helping, and then they increased it, like not made it worse. It just, I was more like observant in it and like what was going on in my mental state. So like it just like increased it. I'm like, okay, well I gotta stop this. And then I just kept going on. I'm like, okay, addiction, substances. And I was like, everything is a substance. Like I can have too much sugar, and sugar will make me feel amazing. And then even with like other people, like they like go off all their addictions, and then what, they have nicotine, or they go to the gym, or they watch TV and like splurge all the time, or they overeat. And so I'm like, they all like, everyone
They replace it with another.
Everyone like tends to replace an addiction. And so with mine, like it happened within this last year, New Year's of 2022, 2021, into 2022. Like I just like sat there, like had my New Year's, had a great time, uplifting, very spiritually awakening moment. And I sat there and I was like, I'm not addicted, I'm a gifted. And so like, it's like, we have these mental things, but like the people with mental illnesses, have you ever like sat and talked with them and the things that they know? Like the things that goes on my brain, and like how I can think thousands of things in like a few seconds.
Yeah,
like,
they're incredibly smart. That's
like,
for sure.
They're geniuses.
You know, they,
like, you even like talk to people, like no matter what substance they're on, like though like you pay attention to the substance and what they're doing and what they're covering up, can't we use that as a gift? Like, can't we use that as a purpose instead of like knocking them down and be like, drug you, make you normal? When, to me, in my opinion, the only thing normal is a dryer setting, and like that is even wrong according to like the brand. So like we don't even really know what normal is. It's just what's going on in that day, what's present in that moment.
Yeah.
And so it's like, why do we have the stigma of like you're covering up something wrong when it's your mental gifts? It's not your mental disability or your mental illness. Because with that, I looked into how Native Americans treated mental illness. It was a gift. Cool, you're schizophrenic? Maybe you can hear spirits. Maybe you can hear God better. Maybe you can do this. Use your gift for something. It's not, let's not cover this up. It's let's teach you how to actually do this. Because like with me, like neurodivergency, SPD, sensory seeking, and like all the other things that doctors seem to just like, those remain the same, but I go to other doctors and they're like, you got this, and I'm like, okay. And then I go to therapy and they go, what happened to you in the past? Let's focus on your past. I'm like, dude, I can't fix the past. I only have control of the present. Like the 1 second in this present. What's going to happen in the future next? No flipping idea.
Right.
Like, so why don't you teach me how to work with my mental gifts, with my mental abilities? Because God gave them to me for a reason.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like I came out of the womb and like, wow, he thinks like he gets easily distracted. Or maybe he's paying attention to a lot more than we are. Like, you know, like I think that's like what we do have wrong, because I think that mentally gifted people tend to lean to the substances because that's like what works. Like that shuts up the voices, that shuts up the overthinking, that shuts up this. And we just hide and cower when I'm just like, celebrate it, dude. Like freaking celebrate it. Like you're amazing. Think about what your brain can do. And you're just like, no, I'm a problem. Like, because like people will be like, oh, I found out that he had this mental illness. I'm like, cool. Well, like, did you ever think like, why is he mentally ill? Or like, what can they do with that?
Right.
I have mentally ill friends, but I call them mentally gifted. Like, they're strong personalities. They're great. People fear them. Me, I'm like, give me a hug, bro. Like, come here. Like, you're gifted. You think 1,000 times per second. Same. Let's think 1,000 times per second together. Like, let's do all of this. Like, we are wonderful human beings. God created us for a reason. Like, we have those illnesses, like, quoting other people, when I think they're gifts. Like, and everyone, even though it's not a substance, there's a reason they're going to that. And people aren't putting that together. Like, I'm not saying that, like, I don't think addiction is wrong. It just shows what you are in that moment in life, what you are using. Because me, like, I can't say 100% I'm sober, because I still like soda. I like an occasional drink, and I smoke a lot of nicotine. Like vape, but, like, I mean, it's not those huge drugs. It's not those big things, though. I'm still going for it.
It's still an addiction,
Yeah,
though, right?
yeah.
It's still an
I
addiction.
agree.
You see, when you go to AA meetings, the majority of the people in AA meetings, they're drinking coffee. It's that caffeine.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So basically, they've switched off the hard stuff, right?
Yeah.
And they've moved to something else, which you said earlier, because I also know people who are very, very addicted to the gym. They'll go to the gym 2-3 times a day.
Yeah.
And they'll go 7 days a
Yeah.
week. And it's the way of them pulling away from
Like the other
whatever
thing.
the other thing, and
it's-
and just a second, and with the mental illness, and I know there are some who definitely use the drugs and alcohol to hide something. However, at the same time, I also agree with a lot of what you're saying too, Mason, because there is a lot of gifts. Jeanette and I, we were involved with Best Buddies Utah for quite a while, and I was the co-chair for a bit, then the chair, then back to a co-chair. We met a lot of kids that were autistic, a lot of kids that were Down syndrome.
Geniuses.
And I tell you what, you sit down and you have a conversation with them, you literally are scratching the back of your head going, society has put you off into the corner, like there is definitely, and you said it, like there's definitely something wrong with you. And my gosh, you are an intelligent son of a gun.
Yeah, seriously.
I mean, they are, because if you really pay attention to what they're saying and how they look at things, it's like the movie, was it Rain Man with Tom Cruise?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I cannot believe I can't remember his name.
Dustin Hoffman.
Dustin Hoffman.
Okay.
Yeah.
People looked at this guy like he's a nobody, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't belong
He's the
in
smartest.
society. But the guy was such a genius.
Yeah.
And there's been other movies made like that too. And I really do believe what you said, it needs to be looked at, because they are gifts. God has given us all different talents.
Yeah.
Everyone is born with a talent. Some of us may never find it. There are a lot of us who actually have an opportunity to find it, and sometimes it's tragedy that brings it out. Sometimes it could be something good that brings it out.
Yeah.
We never know. My youngest daughter, when she was little, she loved cats.
Cool.
And she would run around like a cat. I mean, our highlight when we had a family party is like, Ariel, show everybody how you can be a cheetah. And she would literally run like a cat.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh my gosh. And she, when
You
she'd come
weirdo.
over on the weekends, she'd jump from one part of my couch to another part of the couch and then lay there and act like she's cleaning herself, and I'm not going to say who, but somebody told me in the family, they're like, you need to have her checked. There's something wrong with her. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with her. She's acting like a cat. She shouldn't be acting that way. Well, what's wrong with it?
Yeah.
I said, you know
She
what?
has an imagination. Cool.
She may grow up to be on Broadway in Cats.
Yeah,
Right?
and she will be the perfect role.
She would be the perfect role because she knows how to act like a cat.
she's already done it.
You don't have a flippin' clue.
Yeah.
And I've heard people say that about other people so many times, is there's something wrong with them. Well, guess what? There's something wrong with every single one of us.
Yeah.
Look in the freaking mirror.
Yeah.
So
I don't want to. I don't know if I should mention Tommy.
I wouldn't.
Okay.
You can mention. Well, you already said the name. but-
We know
Nixon.
a kid that's got mental health issues, and he's just really, they're so smart. That's the thing.
Oh, yeah.
Really smart. and even though they don't talk, he doesn't talk much, and he doesn't.
He's not around us.
Not really good
crowds.
with communication, and he stays pretty much away from everybody, isolates a lot. But there's something about him. He's just smart.
You ask that kid about weather.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he could be on the news doing weather right now at age, what is he, 15 now? 14 or 15. He could basically push any one of the news people out of the way that do the weather and do the weather. The kid is freaking intelligent.
And he's been that way for years.
Oh, he's been that way ever since he was like 5 or 6 or 7 years old, you know.
A little genius.
And that's the thing, the judgment that people place on these gifted people, as you say, you know, it's sad. It really is. I mean, like the Down syndrome kids, they talk to you and they can relate to you and talk to you, and I mean, it's like they're normal. They're just like everybody else, but they just have those gifts, like you said.
I don't know.
They're the most loving people I've ever met.
I was going to say, I don't know if they're like everyone else because they're give
gifted,
out so much love that
and
I mean, I can get emotional.
And
talking
they're
about
innocent.
They are innocent. You know, they could meet you for 30 seconds, and they'll be the first ones to put their arms around you and say, "You're a wonderful person."
Exactly.
You know, they don't see the bad in individuals. They see the good in individuals. You know, and we learn that by going to these.
I also want to say that when we go to those proms, they had teenage boys took these Down
Teenage
syndrome
boys
girls
and
on
girls.
dates.
It was
And they would dance with them, and I mean, just like they were normal. And it was so good to see because that's what we need more of in this world.
Yeah.
I mean,
Love
we
and
need
acceptance.
connection, and we need to stop judging people. Stop pretending you're better than somebody else because you're not. We all have problems.
There's always someone better. There's always someone worse.
Right.
Like, we need to just like step besides ourselves and like, this is me like you need to do this, like, because it's like we all have our own thing, but everyone has their purpose.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Even that, like, and everyone is a lesson, like, and we need to actually learn, because like you get like punished or something bad happens, the greatest gift that can come from that is the lesson that you learn from it.
Yes.
The lesson
I
that you learn
agree
from
with that
people.
completely.
That person who just cut you off, or that person who like triggered you and made you feel like a piece of crap, well, maybe you need to learn and maybe they needed to learn. Like, everyone has a purpose. Everyone that goes into your life has a purpose. Everyone has a gift, a talent, or a skill.
Yes.
Sometimes a combination of them. And so it's just like, I know people are like, just love, just love, just love. Like, maybe we need to learn what love is to us, because everyone translates everything differently.
Yes.
I
agree.
I studied linguistics, a little bit of neurolinguistics for a couple years in college. My teacher looks at us and he goes, "Okay, how many of you can speak English?" And we're just like,
all of us.
all of us? Okay, cool. In this class, you are going to learn that you all speak this, like, you all are saying the same thing, but you don't speak the same language. Because what one person says is one, everyone translates differently. I say run, people will be like, okay, run. Some people like, run, oh, I got this. Like, everyone translates it different. We may be speaking the same language, but we're not always translating it the same. He goes, I'm going to make you rethink language overall. And that, like, boggled my mind, even, like, now to these days, like, learning other languages and how people talk. Like, I say love. What's your version of love?
Yeah.
Some people it's intimacy. Some people it's a hug. Some people it's showing acceptance, or like, you know, the 5 love languages.
Yeah.
It all goes into that. So like,
languages,
what's your version of love? There's 5 that we know about, but like everyone translates it differently.
Well, and also with you even say that, it's like there's a different types of levels too, right? You know, and I've had someone tell me a couple times, I won't say who, but they've heard me tell like my guy friends or lady friends, I love you, give them a hug, and they're like, no, you don't your wife get mad at you? You shouldn't do. You should not tell another woman that you love her. And I'm like, you know, you're not understanding. It's a different type of love that I have for this individual. I'm grateful they're in my life, and hopefully they'll stay. But if not, they're here for a purpose, whether it's a short time, long term, midterm. They're here for a reason. Some will go. Like, I lost a lot of good friends when I lost my job out at the plant. I mean, we were close. We did everything together, hunt together. There, the births of kids and parties and birthdays and just get-togethers, just because we wanted to hang with each other. When I left there, or when I was let go from there, all that disappeared. It's almost like I had a disease, like I had the plague. We don't want to talk to you because of what happened.
That was conditional.
You know, well, guess what? And it bothered me for many, many years. I would probably say for the first 5, 6, 7 years, probably. And then as I was building myself and learning myself and wanting to become a better person, it finally frickin' dawned on me. And you've said it throughout the first part of this podcast. They were here for a purpose.
Yeah.
They're no longer needed where the purpose is where God has taken me next, right? New people are going to take their place.
Yeah.
And
that I have to say that makes you feel so much better about yourself.
It does.
Too.
It does.
Is to realize they were just in your life for a reason. Now they're gone, and you need to learn from what the reason is behind that.
You know what's crazy too, Mason, is they were good people. I mean, really good people. However, the people that have come into my life here, especially in the last 5 years, I tell you, they're on a pedestal way up here. You know, and I'm not knocking these people down here because they were at the top of the pedestal at one time.
Yeah.
And I'm just so blessed for that, you know. And to get back to the show of what you were saying, because I don't want to go off this subject. You know, you talked about earlier, Mason, they go to a doctor or a psychiatrist or whoever, and they're like, okay, this is what's wrong with you. And we've had Sylvia bring this up also in some of our shows. There's so many young kids now that are on Ritalin and all kinds of different types of drugs when they're being frickin' kids.
Yeah.
Right? Kids are hyper. Kids can get excited. However, I don't know why somebody either tells the parents or the parents just look at it themselves and go,
Ritalin.
You don't need to be acting this. There's something wrong with you. And then they go to the doctors, and of course, I mean, my gosh, I got my butt kicked so many times as a kid for being a kid.
Yeah.
And what made me realize that is I've watched my daughter and her husband with our grandkids. And I've watched how they've interacted. They let them be kids. They're frickin' kids.
Yeah.
Yes, they have a lot of energy. And I think also that's why they put them in so many sports or why they're so active, because it's a way for them to release that energy, right?
Figure out another form of release, because I am very grateful because like my parents were like, they were trying to like, I guess like advocates for mental illness. They refused for any of us as kids to be medicated for anything. They're like, your kid has neurodivergency, your kid might have autism, your kid might have like this, and they're like, okay, cool. So I put him into sports, I let him draw, let him listen to music. Okay, cool. Like, that's what we did.
Yeah.
Like, that's what they did. And I was like thank you. Because so many people want to, like, it's like riddle in. It's like, no, dude, riddle out. Let them be themselves.
Right.
Like, just, like teach them how to be themselves. Because I think, like, this whole thing, like, with, like, kids, like, having issues with their parents later on in life, or, like, people, and, like, you did this thing, or, like, all these things. The biggest thing was acceptance. Like, I didn't get to be me. And, like, I mean, I had those issues, of course, but I was in a big family. Like, 2 parents handling 6 kids. Like, whoa, dude, like, I'm not jealous.
That's
like,
a lot.
They did good for 6 kids.
I was in the same situation, actually. 6 kids.
It's a lot to handle. They drew just, okay, be you. Question some things, but they're like, figure it out. Like, you've got this. Like, just whatever you decide. Like, one of the biggest things that I love that my dad said, there's a bunch of other things, but not appropriate for the show. He was just like, do your own research. Because, like, I was questioning the church. I was questioning my life. I was questioning people. What is my purpose? What is this? And he's like, do your research. He goes, I feel like I've done my research, and this is where I am. He goes, do your own thing. He's
cool.
like, I'll still
That's
love
really
you.
Cool.
He's like, might go against you, and, like, prepared me for it. He goes, we might argue. We might do these things. He goes, do your research. Like, actually research and see, like, is this what I want to do? Like, be yourself. And then that layered on another thing that he said. He goes, stop trying to find yourself. If you try to find yourself, that is a Google search, and it is what other people are telling you that you are. Create yourself. Who do you want to be?
That.
Don't find yourself, create yourself.
Love
Who
that.
and what do you want to be? Because like the what and the why is up to me. The how and the when is up to God. So I've got the what and why. Like, and I'm like creating myself. Like, we stupor, we do these things, but like, hey, cool, we're human. Like, if we were perfect, we wouldn't be like having these trials.
Right.
And everything.
We
And
wouldn't
life
be
would
on
be
this
very
earth.
like life would be very boring.
Yeah.
And like opinion, just my opinion, I think perfect is already here. Because like in my research with science and stuff like that, the perfect version of one thing is only good by itself, and that is it. And even then, it usually causes chaos, becomes a catalyst to other things. So the perfect thing is the perfect combo. So I think we already are perfect. And like that, like it,
In our human
emotional,
way.
like we are perfect in our human way. Like
Yeah.
people are like, perfect is I have my routine in the morning and I do this every day and I work out and I do this and that's the perfect day. It's like, cool, well, that's not life. Why haven't we figured that out yet? Well, what about the perfect combo? Cool, I tripped a few times. I did this. I had a bad day. Cool, I can use that combo to help my next day. Like, you don't need the one perfect thing. We cannot be just one perfect thing. Everything that's inside of us, all these chemicals,
Because we have all these emotions. We have too many emotions in us, and we're supposed to experience every single one of them.
Yeah.
Right. And I love what you just said, Mason, about finding. How did you put it? About
Don't find yourself.
Don't find yourself. Don't find yourself. John Red brought that up last night in yesterday's live show.
Nice, yeah.
He actually brought it up, and it is, you know. When I decided in 2009 that I needed to figure out who Al Richards was, who I thought I wanted to be, I've not chased after anything. And I don't know if I'm lucky that way or what, or if somehow I got it. Everything that has changed my life since 2009 has basically almost been created without me even knowing it. And it's because I'm not out searching for it. However, I'm searching to be a better me. I want to be a better human being. And it's like these doors are opening, right? Now, if I had this version, okay, this is who Al's going to be. And I'm not going to step off this line. And I'm not going to go this direction. This is straightforward.
Yeah.
My whole growth has been like this.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, seriously, it has.
Yeah.
And
like,
I love that you put it that way.
Awesome that is.
Right.
Because, like, if everything was a straight line, we'd be done. We'd be like, okay, heaven, here we go. I'm done. Woo! Send me up, transcend me.
Yeah.
Like, God's path, like, the universe's path, spirit's path, like, whatever you guys want to see, whatever you study, and, like, this is me, because, like, my big thing is patterns. I love researching and learning and figuring out patterns and putting those things together. Paths are always like this. You see a plant. I mean, the tree may grow straight up, but then, whoa, look, it's got roots and it does all this. Whoa, look, it's got living, and then pop, a leaf, and then like, oh, another branch. Like, nothing is straightforward, and we think that we can just go A to B. I'm like, there's a lot between A and B, dude. Like, it's not A to B, because you even have a distance 2 before the B. Like, and you got to figure out what that 2 is.
Yeah.
We can't just be like, phew, and people are like, I can figure out my life, and then like the people who are figuring other people's life, I'm like, is your life figured out? Do you have it all together? Because I don't think we do. But also I think we do, because we're figuring it out every G-dang day. And change is love. Like, everything changes.
Yeah.
Get used to it, dude. Like,
hey, that's how
and like
nature
that's like
is.
that dude is like me, because like sometimes like I used to struggle with change hardcore.
Yeah.
If anything changed, everything had to be like pretty much the same routine with this. If something is off balance, the world is over.
Hey, I've been that way too.
Like, why? Then
I think we all have.
yeah. But then like that why me instead of pity party and like all those things, like why me? Change it again, the linguistics thing, different translation. Why me? Why did that happen to me? Instead of beat myself up and the world is against me, it's like, okay, the world might be against me now, but why?
Well, is it though really against you?
Is it really
right?
against me? I might have like, it's what you make it. Like, energy is neutral. People need to like realize that. And then after the neutral, what we change it to is what it becomes.
Yeah.
So someone might have this big overwhelming love and boom, I love you. Still neutral. They might have made it positive. You could turn that negative real quick. It's what we make it.
Exactly.
Like, we have control of that energy. We do not realize, like, we are energetic human beings. Like,
Yeah.
though, like, I might have to, like, go down a little bit because, like, these are my studying, like, not, like, an official doctor, though, like, I've read most of the books they've read. And so, like, we are energetic people, like, energetic beings. Like, I studied massage therapy and, like, have learned fascia. Fascia is beautiful. It is what holds our electrical current. It is what
What is
connects our
fascia?
body. Fascia is the lining of the muscle and, like, the biggest connective tissue that we have in our body over our skin.
Huh.
Like, it connects everything in our body. And it can heal everything. And then guess what? You go back and you learn what, like, fascia is and go back a little bit to, like, Eastern medicine, meridians, chakra points,
Oh yeah.
nerve endings, nerve
that.
points. We have fascia in all 7 chakra points. We have a nerve gathering in all of those 7 chakra points. Or like chakra, like chakra. I think
I
it's
love chakra.
But like,
I do.
it's like, it's amazing things. Like, we have our own Wi-Fi.
Well,
We let off an aura.
We are
let off a
programmed,
thing.
yeah.
We let off heat. Like, do people not realize, like, the beautiful things that we are? Like, we are literally a human biocomputer.
yeah.
We are the
Agree.
gods of this world.
Yeah.
Like, of this. Like,
Yeah.
not this. Like, that's up to the other God who created this. You know, may he, she, they, whatever. But, like, I am God over this. And all that electrical stuff and how a touch can do healing. And people don't think that, oh, you know, I touched. I got a hug and I feel good. Why?
Yeah, oh, exactly right.
That electrical connection, that touch that we get, we can do amazing things. Because, like, people, like, throw that away and, like, oh, that was just one person. Like, gotta choose it. Like, you know, like, I don't want to use, like, big words. It's just that, like, you see all these miracles. These people being able to read the future. These people being able to heal people with just their touch. That was a human. So why can't I do that?
Yeah. Well,
Well, you could if you learned.
we're all capable of doing it.
Yeah.
I
Right.
mean, you're nailing it, right? I mean, even Einstein back in his studies, he figured that out,
Yeah.
right? We all have that capability. Some just have been able to tap into it while
Yeah.
others can't,
People
right?
have figured out how to do it. Me,
Yeah.
learning it by myself. Like, I recommend it, but also, like, I don't, because it's a lot of trial and error. Like, the things that, like, we can do. I think we are all built a certain way with our gifts, skills, and abilities. God made them for that reason, and we can enhance them. We can do that. Think about,
Yeah.
like, what anyone and everyone can do these days. Even, like, now with just, like, the internet, though they're picking other electricity. Think about maybe, like, what we do. Because, like, yes, we get something viral. However, you put something in your mind that, like, confirmation bias, like, you buy a car, everyone has that car. Who created that? You did. Or all of a sudden you're thinking this, and then all of a sudden everyone around you is mentioning the thing that you're thinking. Maybe we have a collective thought, just like the internet.
Well,
Whoa!
we
Like,
prove
we
it.
can hear each other's thoughts and feelings, though, like,
Yeah.
we're not reading each other's minds, because,
Right.
like, I mean, I don't want to read people's mind. And also, like, if 2 people are reading each other's minds, who's reading the other mind? Like, who's reading what mind? Like, though we get feelings, we get connections. And when you look at a person, you think something and feel something.
we're sending a text basically
Yeah,
constantly.
we are literally sending
Yeah.
a group
literally
text.
sending the group
And
text.
it's usually the people who are in your tribe, in your collective, who are currently in your life. Though, like, some people, the person who's supposed to pop up in your life ends up saying something that you just needed to hear for some reason.
Yeah.
Thanks,
It
energetic
happens.
Google. Like, it's like, we are these wonderful, beautiful things. Like, we are wonderful and beautiful. We are, like, right now, the advanced species. We are a collective of all of them. You take DNA, and we're like, cool. Some people have DNA as a banana. Some people have DNA of, like, a wolf. DNA of this. DNA of an insect. They're very similar, and they're not putting together. But, like, maybe we're a collective of all those things, and those were our past lives on how life grew and we became human. And how our parents and everything and our ancestors put together. Our ancestors are here. Their code, their genetic code, passed on from mom and dad, from their other genetic code, my ancestors are in here. God is in here, because God created man
Well,
from him in his image.
we
I've got
have
God in me.
a
You've got
lot
God
of
in you. Congratulations.
DNA of the universe.
Yeah, we've got the DNA already into us.
Yeah.
We already have this. The stars, the everything, all right here, dude.
Yep.
And
Yep.
people are just like, you've got a problem. I think you need to take some drugs. Oh, okay,
And
That's going to be the answer.
And these are okay because a
And
doctor
these are
gave
okay.
it to us, right?
Yeah.
And again, guys, I don't want to knock.
Yeah.
I don't want to
Yeah,
knock it down
it's
because
not
there are
just
definitely
doctors
some
do-
prescription
yeah.
drugs too that people do need. Matter of fact, I was having a conversation with a gal at the gym this morning. We were actually talking about that, and she said the same thing. She goes, there are people who need certain things, and it
Yeah.
does help them.
Yeah.
So
People might
it's,
have a lack of
it's
something.
not that
Yeah.
we're knocking it all down. We're
Right. It's
just
like-
saying on this show we believe it's gone way too far overboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's.
It's
Thank
like-
you for
Can I?
rewording that. Yeah, go for it.
It's like parents are so quick to medicate their kids because it's just easier that way.
Yeah.
And when they get depressed, they put them on Xanax. That kind of thing is what bugs me. People do, like you said, people do need some prescription medication.
Yeah.
And if it helps enhance their life, then that's very good.
Yeah.
But I think parents are too quick to
Yeah.
get their kids diagnosed with
Yeah.
depression or
Mm-hmm.
anxiety or
absolutely.
ADHD,
Yeah, the stigma
and
has come
so
to
quick
fix.
they just want to do it the easy way.
Yeah, and
I
that's
think.
that's another thing. Like magic is instant, but look what it's doing right now. Like in this instant world, like consumerism, all that stuff like that. Like
Right.
It's
God takes time. If you pray, like, hey, God, I need this, He's not gonna give you like in an instant second or
Yeah,
like
it's
send
His
you a
time.
DoorDash. It's
It's
on His time.
His
It's on
time
the
that we
universe's
live. Yeah,
time.
for sure.
You plant a seed. Guess how long it's gonna create whatever you planted. So like, it's like, take time.
Well,
Yeah.
it's
Nurture
like
it.
planting a crop, right?
Yeah.
You got to water and cultivate it and fertilize it, and water and cultivate it and fertilize it for it to just start growing and growing. And sometimes that's
get
what
the
it is
results you want.
exactly. It's how our prayers are answered,
Yeah.
And of course, they say in the law of attraction, you've got to believe you already have it. And I'm a firm believer of that. You've definitely got to picture that. you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
So, I want to take a quick commercial break, and then when we come back, I'd love to even go more into that stigma of things, if you're okay with
yeah.
it, or we can touch on more of the mental health, whichever direction
All
you
of it,
want to go.
'cause that's
so
where
yeah.
like the stigma is done, because like
Yeah.
it's just because I don't think the stigma is just drugs or just like
Exactly
it's where
right.
it's where
Oh, yeah.
the stigma is where we are taking it. It's another version of a stereotype. It's just a little bit more hard.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Okay. Guys, stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hello, my friends. This is Brad Neufeld, and I want to thank you for tuning in to the Resilience Talk Network. You can listen to my show, Resilience, every morning, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. On my show, we will be discussing what it takes for you to overcome the day-to-day challenges that all of us face in life, as well as some of the devastating ones that may lead us to feelings of hopelessness and despair. It's my goal to provide you with the tools and skills that you need to overcome anything that is thrown your way. To find out more about my show, visit our website at www.resiliencetalk.com. That's www.resiliencetalk.com. And as always, until we meet again, go for everything that you want in life and make it happen.
Do you know someone who's gambling with death due to an addiction? Do you know someone whose life is being turned upside down due to a loved one that's battling with addiction? Hi, I'm Al Richards. I am the host of the Other Side of Addiction podcast. I started the podcast due to my wife's battle with alcohol. Let's just say I became addicted to her addiction. Our podcast is helping people understand a little more about those who have battled addiction and those who are hurting from their addiction. Through raw vulnerability, we share stories that help uncover the root causes of addiction. Shame felt on both sides, matter of the conscious and subconscious mind, continued beliefs, and often confusing paths of recovery. We collaborate with real people and their stories, as well as licensed professionals, to help our audience gain a better understanding of addiction. You can find us on Resilience Talk Network. You can also find us on Facebook at Mr. Al Richards. That's Facebook at Mr. Al Richards. You can also find us on YouTube. Just look up the Other Side of Addiction podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to The Other Side of Addiction. Again, we are here today with Mason Neufeld. Mason, thank you so much for being here with us today. And thank you for sharing all that knowledge that you've been studying. And it's just not stuff that's coming out of the top of your head. I mean, you've read on this, and it's like you said earlier that your dad told you, do your own research. You know, and I do believe that's what more of us need to do, is do our own research. Stop listening to certain programming on TV. I'll just leave it that way. Do your own research, because you will find, and I've only done this just for a few things, okay? I don't do it all the time. And I have found just those few things that I have done my own research on, it's totally different than what you're seeing on TV. You know, it's totally different. Again, when we started the show, we were talking about the stigma and the mental health. And again, man, it's just, it seems like, I don't know, to me it seems like society has gotten worse. You know, and especially, and I got to be careful because we've already had one show pulled because of this, but there's a certain thing that happened that we all know a couple years ago that have changed a lot of people. And it's the fear with a lot of things. And fear will make people do some crazy stuff.
Sure will.
Very much.
You know, and again, I think they need to do their own research. However, the fear of stuff, anybody that looks out of place, anyone that acts differently, for some, not all, they look at them that they do not belong in society. And I want listeners to know it's going both ways. There are people that are looking at you going, there is something wrong with you. You don't belong in society. We just don't know it, right? Unless some people come up to you and just flat out tell you, what's wrong with you? There's something wrong with you, because this is how you are. This is not how you're supposed to be.
Right.
Well, according to who? According to you?
Cool. Thanks for your opinion.
Right? You know, I mean, there are people who are born into this world, and we talked about it a little bit at the beginning of the show, who have disabilities. I had a disability when I was a young kid. I was diagnosed at the age of 7 with a disease called Perthes. It's like a polio. I'm very grateful to even be walking and being able to do the things that I can do, because the doctors told my parents I'd probably never walk again. I was in a brace, like a Forrest Gump brace. Instead of having it on both legs, I had it on my left leg in a platform shoe. I was teased a lot as a kid. I was called crippled. I was treated completely different. Why? Because I didn't look what other kids thought was normal. You know, and kids are just, I mean, kids at a very young age, at 7 years old, 8 years old, we haven't got things figured out by all means.
No way possible.
However, gosh, you know, and I don't know. I do believe that some comes from parents, some comes from just how the world is to this day. And I'm not saying that parents are doing, that they're being bad parents, because I tell you what, no one wrote a book on how to be a parent. You know, we do the best that we can, and we take what we take from our parents and throw out what we don't. But however, our kids are going to throw out stuff that they don't want and pick, and it's just going to be
so
a constant,
on and so forth,
a constant thing. So, you know, this mental health stuff, I mean, you hit it. As far as I'm concerned, you nailed it. And a lot of times these people with these mental health, man, they're a blessing to society.
They really are.
You know?
They're huge gifts. And, like, going back on a little what I said, like, because I'm not saying that don't take medicine, don't take that, but it's medicine, you know? There can be too much of a good thing. I just think it's like moderation, because once it becomes a problem is when you're taking too much of it.
Right.
Because like in my years of addiction, I mean, like I was doing like a substance and stuff like that. It's just that like it can be viewed as medicine, but I was overtaking it, because you can take too much ibuprofen.
Yeah.
You can have too much of bad oxygen. You can breathe too much. You can have too much water. It's just that like the moderation, and how like when we get to thinking that this is the only thing that fixes me, so we have to keep taking it. So what I did in my years of addiction is I realized that I still like these or things close to it. I'm just doing it too much. And so I created a relationship with them, and they actually worked as medicine. Because medicine isn't bad, because medicine comes from the earth. Because that's where like man-made medicine, it still came from the earth. It's just what we put in it. And so maybe the man-made is the preservatives or the wrong things or the fillers.
They've broken it down.
You know,
way
like
too
they
much.
broke it down way too much, because that stuff is still on this earth.
Yeah.
Like it's still here. It's put there for a reason. Like every medicine that you are taking came from a plant, came from something from this earth, came from a stone. It's just that people are like, we got to mass produce. How do we do that? We might have to cut some corners. Though it's like, you know, farm for your own. Get like the basic plant. Learn how to make a tincture. Learn how to make your own medicine. Like we can do that.
Yeah.
Except for like people like get off like the stigma, and just like, you know, like the stigma of just like medicine overall is like it has to be from something. It has to come in a pill. But I mean, even essential oil places, you can put your essential oils in your own capsule and do that. Cool. You just created a pill form of it. Like, but it can be taken in any other way. Inhale, exhale, oral, like all those other things. It's just how much we take, what we take, and what's actually in it. Because medicine can help. There's been medicine since this earth exists, since like humans existed. I had this problem. This helped me. Like, you can do that. My favorite thing is passion flower, because it actually helps with overthinkers. That tea is amazing. I have to make it a certain way. I researched it. How do you like cook this thing? Because sometimes too much heat on a plant can actually do a negative thing. Though like people are like, okay, this plant will make this pill. However, we're going to cook them like all at the same temperature. No, it's not what you do. Like coffee, for example. It's actually not supposed to really be hot. It's supposed to be cold pressed. It's supposed to be like done through a phase of cold, and then you can heat it up for a warm drink. If you just take it for it, that's where we got espresso, which is great. But what does espresso do? And like you see people, and they're like, I got the shakes. Guess what? That's too much.
I took
too much.
one once at a packaging expo in Vegas. A guy that we were buying some liquid machines from. And they're from Italy, and that's where we got a lot of our machines. And he says, "Come on, I'll go buy an espresso." I'd never had one.
Yeah.
We go over and we get this one, and it comes in a little teeny glass
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah.
And
A
I'm
little
like,
shot.
Okay, and I was drinking it. Yeah, in about 10 minutes, I'm like, man, I don't feel freaking very good.
Yeah.
Beads
It's
of sweat
it's
forming
too
up on
much.
my head. It was
Yeah.
way too much.
Yeah. Like it's just like it's just funny that like we don't like research and we just like go off of other people, because like I know that now these days it can be really hard to find a good source, because like there's so much on the internet. Because like now on Google, if you do it right, you can find anything to back up what you think is right, and that's dangerous.
Yeah.
Because like that affects us. Like, why isn't that regulated? Like, we need to learn how to like, because our ancestors did pretty freaking great on like their own medicines. Oh, this like they did trial and error, but we have that technology and that like knowledge now.
Well, there's
Yeah,
still
like
some.
All right, now we can learn to make our own medicines.
Yeah.
Everyone can learn to do their own thing.
Yeah.
You want to start a business doing this? Boop. How do you do this? Boop. Watch some videos. YouTube University. Like,
Yeah.
don't like. It's not. Things can get misquoted on YouTube, but it's like we can learn how to like self-medicate, and people think that that's a wrong thing. Like, why? Our ancestors did it. We can do it. Another person is sitting there in a room who created this specific medicine or drug or whatever you want to call it. they didn't. So,
You know, and it's crazy that you said that, because I was at my chiropractor yesterday, and he's not one of those guys that snap your neck and put you on a chair and pops your back.
Yeah.
He has that little tool where he goes in and they hit the nerves, you know, and it helps open. It's like you have a pinched hose, and then this thing helps kind of open the nerves, which can send full signals throughout your body, right? Because all our nerves are attached. And I was telling him just to be careful with my toe, that I probably broke my toe. And after we were done, he says, just a second. He goes out and he grabs his little Post-it and he starts writing it down. He goes, my grandfather invented this cream and these capsules. It's made out of all natural stuff, all herbs and plants. And he says, we've referred it to quite a few of our patients, and it helps with so many things. And he goes, he says, you have to keep the oil in the refrigerator. It has to stay cool. The capsules, you take 2 capsules 3 times a day. And he says, I do both. But he says, our kids even got to the place to they got a cut or a burn, or there's something aching or whatever. They put this stuff on there. And he goes, it's amazing what it does. And he wrote down the name. So last night, when I finally had an opportunity to go home and pull it up, and I started doing some research on it. And all the ingredients in it are 100% herbal stuff. And it's all like 4.5 reviews. And I started reading a lot of the testimonials that are on there. And I'm going, holy crap, man, this is some pretty good stuff. So I'm like, I have definitely got to get it, and it's very inexpensive. And guys, I don't remember the name. I got to take a picture, because I was talking to some people at the gym, and they're like, if you remember what the name is, let me know, because I want to get some too. You are so right. You know, thousands and thousands of years, the Chinese, Native Americans, the Incas, I mean, they didn't have a pharmacy to go when they were feeling ill. They had a medicine man. They had a medicine man, and it was herbs, and it was roots, and it was leaves, and it was barks that helped them get through. You know, whatever was ailing them. And yes, science has done some incredible things. Definitely some amazing things. However, I think it is, and you're starting to see more and more people go towards the more natural part.
Maybe that's what's normal.
You know, I mean, you were here when we had Rachel from Novice here. Functional Health.
Love that.
Isn't that amazing that now these places are opening up and it's functional health, where everything is basically natural stuff. They go in and they look for the very root of the problem. They just don't go in and press here, check your heart rate, check your temperature, watch your weight. Here's what's wrong. Take this to your pharmacy. It'll take care of you, right? They dig down to what the root cause is, and then they find the herbs and the things that help ail those, because it's worked for thousands and thousands of years.
That's what I actually love about Novice. Like Novice, I will quote you guys on this one, because I think like my translation of it is they are mixing Eastern medicine and Western medicine together, because Eastern medicine, like, it's a sin to cut up your ancestors. Your ancestors die, your past people die, you don't do anything with them. Western medicine, we were the first ones who decided to chop dead people up and figure out what was going on with our bodies. Eastern medicine focused on cause and effect. That's everything that they did. When this happens, which leads to this. So if this happens, then if we do this, it leads to this, which leads to this, now we have this. And that's what I love about Novice, because like they're taking what we've learned from the Western medicine, Western science, that part of the world, and then they put in the cause and effect. Because they're leading that together. And like, why aren't we putting those together? Like, because everyone is different, though, like, for years and years. It's like, cool, anxious. Like, I've heard that some, like you go to like a Eastern medicine doctor or something like that, or an Ayurvedic doctor, and they're like, cool, you have anxiety. What's going on in your life? Who is in your life? What plants are around you that you're living in? How is the feng shui of your home? I'm like, no, I just need a pill. And they're like, no, because if your bed is facing this way and you don't get the proper amount of sun, you didn't get vitamin D. You didn't get all the vitamins that you did that the sun can naturally give you. So maybe you should face the sun.
They tell
when
us
you
the
wake
sun
up.
is bad for us when the sun's actually good for us.
Yeah,
we need
it's
so much
really
of
good.
it.
I think it's the same as what he was saying earlier about in moderation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
It's
exactly
all-
what it is.
Everything is
Everything's
in
in moderation,
Yeah,
yes.
you have to create your relationship with it, because like that's where like I'm figuring out with myself, because like yes, everyone is different. What medicine works for you? What relationship do you have with it? Because like you have to do your own cause and effect. Because even when you take that pill, when that doctor gives it to you or anyone else, what do they do a month later? They always say, "See me in a month," and then you have to describe to them what happened, how you felt, how that. Then they change the dosage. So. Take your own medicine.
Yeah.
How does this do this? Okay, when I did this at this time and I had this diet, that's what happened. Whoa, that goes into gut biome, which is amazing stuff. We don't need to go to that because that will put me on my thing, because gut biome, I think people have not studied into at all.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Like
I
that is our
agree.
core.
Gut
like
can
you
create
take
a
the
lot
earth,
of
the
health
core,
issues.
what's going on in the core of Mother Earth. This is also us.
Yeah.
Mother Earth is absorbing and taking a lot of crap, and we're eating and absorbing and taking a lot of crap. Cool, our hair falls out, we get pimples, we get this, we get all that. So,
Depressed.
all that. And then,
Angry.
because sometimes I'm super anxious and depressed, and then I eat like a good meal. I'm like, okay, body, what do you want? Like, something is going on. What do we need? And they're like, we need this for a couple days. I do that diet, and I'm like, whoa, I'm not depressed, I'm not anxious. All I had to do was eat
Yeah.
the right thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing what changes our bodies and like what we can do. Like, we can heal ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
As a massage therapist, like I focused on the physical, though like what went with that, we had to step away from the mental as like massage therapists and just focus on the body, because that was a whole nother thing. Because like what I realized, that person would not heal from my touch, because no one can heal you. No one can heal you. You can heal yourself. That's what I learned like day one in that school, is like you cannot heal anyone. You facilitate, just like anything and everything. If that person doesn't think that you can fix them or you can help them, nothing's gonna happen. You're a professional rubber. Congratulations. Like, healing is done with the self. Do not take that person's power away. Do not say, I can heal you. I will heal you. We heal ourselves.
So when am I getting a massage?
We'll make an appointment. And if you're ready to heal,
Yeah.
that's on you.
I am.
You know, and I love that you said that, because this brought something up, Mason, with what you were just saying.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember who it was. I talk to so many people and I lose track of who I speak with. And it really bothers me that I do that, because I really want to give credit to the person that I'm speaking to or with. A gentleman that I was talking to said that they have done studies on this, okay? And again, this goes to show what Mason is saying is true. This gentleman said that they did this study where they brought in some people who had cancer, certain forms of cancer, okay? And they brought it in, they said, hey, we have got this new pill, this new capsule, that it's making changes. And we would like you to be a part of this study so we can do more research on it. And of course, people, I mean, I would do it, right? I mean, I'd be the first
cancer, you'd do
to
anything.
raise my hand and go,
Yeah.
absolutely, let's
Yeah.
try this out. And they're telling these people to start, they're like, we are finding that a high percentage of people who take this, their cancer is going away. They're using their mind to get in their mind,
Yeah.
right? So they start giving this out. They start doing blood work after a couple months. Some of these people who had cancer, it wasn't 100% of them, but it was a very high percent, like 80%, their cancers went away.
Yeah.
Guess what?
That's crazy.
There was nothing in these capsules. Nothing. It was just something that wasn't going to harm them, but they got them believing that this was going to work for them.
Yeah.
Then they took it a little further. One of the gentlemen who basically had a life-threatening, it was going to kill him, the cancer. And so they decided, they're like, you know what, we're not able to produce this anymore. We don't have the stuff that we need to. We're so sorry, but however, your cancer has gone away. And they says, if anything changes, we'll call you back. They waited another month or 2 months. They called the gentleman back. Guess what? His cancer had returned because he thought,
without that medicine.
without this medicine. And they did it again, the reverse way. His cancer went away. And they're like, it goes to show it was the body that was making the changes.
Yeah.
And I don't know if a lot of you guys have heard of Joel Osteen. Okay, I don't know if you call him a preacher or an evangelist or what he is, but he's gotten himself very well known. He's written a lot of books. I've read one of his books. I think you're the one that bought me one of the books. I don't remember.
I don't remember.
Anyway, and I listened to his station on Sirius XM quite a bit, and he was talking about his mom was diagnosed with a fatal cancer. They basically said, you might as well go home, start preparing things, because you will probably not be here in another 6 months. And he said his mom refused to agree with what the doctor said. Even after all the tests that's there in front of her said, you have this cancer, she goes, no, I don't. Your tests are wrong. And she continued to believe that. She has been cancer-free now for something like 20-something years.
Yeah.
And here it was something that was going to kill her within 6 months.
Yeah.
She healed herself with her head. She
Yep.
did not believe it. She believed that she was healthy and there was nothing wrong with her. Now, I'm not saying that it's simple, because it's not, because our brain can overpower us. Our subconscious mind has that power to kick in, right, and take over. And again, I think everything that we're talking about, you guys, we talked about stigma and mental health, but all this comes into the mental health, right? Because that's what it is. It's all mental. You know, and I've had some issues with my elbow, and it's gone down into my forearm and sometimes into my hand. I get all numb and stuff, and I'm like, okay, all right, I don't have this problem. And even though I go to the gym and it hurts like crazy, I was talking to one of my coworkers, and he goes, Al, you're thinking the wrong way. And I says, okay, so which way do I think? He goes, you're thinking that you don't have it. He says, put your head where the problem is.
Yep.
Put your focus on, I'm healing myself right now. I'm like, oh my gosh, I should have thought, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And so that's what I've been doing, you
Yeah.
know, and it's amazing. I tell you, they have done studies. Do your research, check it out, but they have done studies that this is true. The energy that you talked about earlier, Mason, is true. Dr. Emoto, who did the water test, I don't know if you know Dr. Emoto. I mean, Janan will tell you.
We love that.
We have a 3-gallon jug of water. We go get our water at the water store. And when I read this book and I read the articles of Dr. Emoto's study, with tape, I have love, abundance, and something else on it. It's been so long now, I don't even remember what I put it on it.
Yeah.
The reason why I put the wording on that 3-gallon water jug,
Yeah, it absorbs it.
it absorbs it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you think I'm freaking crazy, look up Dr. Emoto and look at
Yeah,
the
it's
studies
crazy.
he
Yeah,
did. So
what he did
he
is-
put
oh my
water in
gosh.
Petri dishes,
Yeah.
and he would put
Petri.
Petri.
Yeah.
He would do hate, anger, all kinds of negative words, and he put it in
And
the
then
freezer.
positive ones too.
And then he did the same thing with positive words.
Yeah.
They pulled them back out after frozen. They cut them up and put them underneath a microscope. They've got the frickin' pictures in the book.
Yeah.
Everything that had a negative word,
It's gross.
it was all distorted. The ice crystals were distorted and deformed. Everything that had a positive, it was so gorgeous. It was
gorgeous, yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yep.
His study goes to show, even just a word, right? I mean, how do we feel? And again, I still say this falls into the mental health. How good do we feel if somebody walks in a room? I mean, you did it last week with our guest, Rochelle.
Oh, Rochelle. Yeah.
Rochelle.
Yeah.
So she's sitting here, and you walked in, and you looked over, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, you are gorgeous."
Yeah.
And I watched her, and it was like,
Yeah.
you know, it's that energy of making someone feel so good.
Yeah.
Or just telling somebody, I love your smile. Or I love the way that you laugh.
Yeah.
It's that positive energy and you're feeding it
makes
into
them-
somebody.
Yeah.
And yes,
Makes them naturally high.
we want that
Yeah.
compliment, right? It
That's
makes
a
us
good
feel
high.
good.
Energy
it's
highs
a
are
really good
amazing.
high.
Yeah.
However, it's doing also something inside of us, right? I mean, there's times when someone has said something to me where I don't know what's going on inside of my stomach, inside of my core, man, but it's like, wow, that just did that to me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It's amazing because with like the power of word, the power of prayer and everything, because like what I want to go to, because like that's something I've been personally working on, because you can say anything. It's your intent that's behind it.
Exactly
Yeah.
right.
Because you could say I love you, however, like
You have
what
to
if it's just
damn
like a I love you too,
Mean it in there. Yeah.
or like I love you, like the intent that you put behind it. You can say anything, but that intent, because like the thing that with Dr. Emoto's study is it was also intent that they put behind it. The person who wrote it, they didn't just have a computer, have someone type it, I'm going to print it out.
Oh, it was
that
written.
person took an ink and thought and felt anger and put that into it. So that intent, that energy went into that paper, which also is wood, is tree. Trees absorb. Whoa. So like that can do that. So it's also like words are magic. That's why we call them spelling. Sit for a spell. Spell the words.
Your words
it's just
mean
what
everything.
your intent.
That's something I've heard for years. Your words mean everything.
Yeah.
So
Well,
Words can change a lot.
that's why they say the words that follow I am follow you.
Because even like, because some people are like, like, be careful what you say, or like, don't say the word hate. However, someone can say I hate you and still love you. Because like, it's like, oh, I hate you. Like, because they like did something that like you also kind of love, but like, because like with me and my friends would be like, oh, you suck, man. And we're like, yeah, I do. We're like, I'm the worst. And like, you can still celebrate with those negative words. It's the intent
Just
that's
the intent behind it. Yeah.
Because like you can say I'm sorry, but sorry means I feel it. It comes from sorrow. So if you didn't feel that sorrow, then you're not sorry.
See, I'm opposite on those.
she doesn't like the word sorry.
I will not, and
Apologize or
once,
anything like that.
maybe once or twice a year, I'll slip it, and I can honestly say that the word, what you said. See, I don't even want to say it now.
Yeah.
I do not like that word.
Yeah.
And even if it's as simple as I H my shoes, right?
Yeah.
I'm still, for me, it's still I'm throwing something negative
Yeah.
out there.
And that's the
even
intent you're putting into it. Yeah.
And even the sorry, I don't like that, because if you look at definition, and again, this is just me. If you look at the definition of sorry, it's all negative behind the meaning behind sorry. So sorry doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah.
People can tell me you're sorry, and to me, I'm just like, yeah, okay.
I told you
Yeah.
I was sorry
You know?
this morning, but I apologize.
You know, so and if you go back even like in the Roman days, they understood that. You know, I apologize.
Yeah.
And I use that a lot now. You know,
Yeah.
and Colby Bronson, who was here on the show, he taught me something about the word "but,"
Yeah.
how it cancels things out. He's like, if you tell your wife you love her, but blah blah blah, you just canceled out that you love her. And I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Words have
you
power.
know,
Yeah.
and it's something I've gotten better. However, I still got a lot of work to do.
He's doing really good. Yeah.
Yeah, I do my best
Yeah.
to do this, because again, it's all part of that mental health.
Yeah.
In my eyes, that's how I'm looking at it. It's all part of that mental health. And again, how I want the words that I speak to be powerful.
Yeah.
And I want them to
Means something.
I want them to mean something to someone, you know, and learning how to be more of a public speaker. You really have to start working on that, because the ums, the so's, and the ands are things that you really start working on. And I'm doing that by doing these shows.
Yeah.
I catch myself when I do the ums, the so's,
Yeah.
and I'm like, okay, I only heard a couple this time. Okay, it's getting a little better,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So yeah.
Well, and like that goes into like my linguistic side. I don't know why I keep quoting. Just like because
I don't know how you do that.
all words have their purpose. Because like it's not saying completely throw out these words. Just use them in the right spot. Because like how people take them, how people feel them. Just put them in there, because like you can use but. It's just that if you want to cancel something out from the past, 'cause it's not saying that just like never say but
you
again.
can use it in a positive way.
It's the intent, because like it's also like, you know, Harry Potter fan, Avada Kedavra. That's the killing curse. And so like, you know, I don't just go Avada Kedavra, Avada Kedavra, you know, like I don't just do it, but like that was first created to hunt. Like if you go on like the history of it, it was to kill and like also like protect. But then people misused it. Anything can be misused, and anything can be used properly.
Right.
There's it's just who's behind it or what's behind it.
Yep.
So like that's how, like, because like I'm working on the things that I tell myself and the things that I tell other people. I'm also trying to work on the word sorry, because like for me, sorrow is it roots from like a Latin and a Greek base, I believe. Don't quote me on that. However, I'm linking it to the Spanish lo siento. Because like we translate it to I'm sorry, though lo siento is I feel what you feel. They don't just say lo siento to every little thing. Like they will say it like at a funeral, lo siento. Everything else, perdóname, excuse me, my pardon. Because like everyone will just be like, lo siento means I'm sorry. I'm like, yeah, but the root of their word, that Latin, is I feel that. So they don't just lo siento, lo siento, lo siento. Like they don't use it as like my bad.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, or disculpe. Yeah, it's disculpe. They also use disculpe. And so like it's what's behind
Spanish
it, the power
really
of it.
good. I mean, it sounds like
That's not Spanish, that's German.
Yeah, that's
no,
German.
it's not. I know German. That's not German.
And so like it's like just the power of that word, because like even with addiction in itself, saying I'm an addict can also bring you down.
Yeah.
Like
To me,
it's
you're
what the
labeling
intent,
yourself.
but that's also how people use the word addict and how you do that, because you could be an addict, or you could just be like, I'm addicted to something, so maybe I need to change what's going on, instead of I'm an addict, shoot your bullet, because like you can also be like, I'm addicted to something. Cool. Does it help me? Not right now. Okay, so I need to change it. So it's like, pay attention to what you're saying, like also the intent that you're putting behind the word, because I think that we can get that confused sometimes, because like from past things, trauma, triggers, all that, because like one word, again, like different languages, different translations could send someone down a rail. Because like with Rochelle, I could have said you're gorgeous, and even though like, because like my intent was real and true, so I'm glad she felt that. Though if she was so stuck and like abused and like someone used gorgeous against her, she would have taken that completely different.
Oh, absolutely.
Depleted her.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's also like, because like
it can go
it's
both
almost
ways.
like be careful what you say, because it could be taken a different way. So
Yeah.
like, I mean, I used to overthink it and be like, I'm just gonna say the bare minimum to people because I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. But also, it's like, what's my intent?
Yeah.
Because people can feel that,
Yeah.
and they can feel the difference.
And as long as I think your intent is in the right place, I believe they feel that intent,
if
right?
your heart is in the right place.
Because anyone can take anything in a negative way.
Yeah.
And you say to them, it's their choice of how they're taking
that's their
it,
choice.
right?
Yeah.
Because something of their past or whatever may have happened, like you just said, you know, maybe she could have been in a relationship where she was being accused of being gorgeous just so she could get guys' attention or whatever, and that's not what it is, right?
Yeah.
So again, it's how we take it, and I love that you said that, Mason, because really everything that's said in every word can be taken in either two or more different meanings, right?
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to the English language.
Yeah.
I mean, my gosh, there's so
Yeah.
many meanings behind our words,
Yeah.
right? The definitions behind. You know, it's
sure.
like when Janie Marvin was on the show. You know,
Love her.
Oh, she's amazing.
Yeah,
She is freaking
she's the
amazing.
best.
We love the heck out of
Yeah.
Janie. And just
Yes.
so you know,
Hi, Janie.
you ever get to see it,
Yeah.
we love you, my dear, and we miss you. It's been a long time since we've seen each other.
For sure.
Actually, since August of last year. You know, she would take a meaning of a word and just continue to break it down.
Yeah, I do the same
You know,
thing.
like
I
the
do
word
same
gift,
thing.
she says she's
That's
got
why I love her
notepads.
posts.
Are not-
I love her
right?
posts. Yeah.
Yeah, but
So I
she-
don't know her personally, but like her posts, I'm like holographic human, like all this stuff. I'm just like, girl, I like you. Like,
she's broke
great.
it. She's broke it down because
Did you
She's broke it down because of what you've heard. I don't know if you watch A Tribe of Giants or Wake Up with Giants with Nick and Ryan on Sunday mornings at 9, but they've used the word frackle before. And when the first time I heard that word, I'm like, what the heck is frackle?
Yeah.
You know,
What does that mean?
I'm looking it up, and of course it took me a minute because I was probably spelling it wrong, which I was spelling it wrong. And anyway, we went to an event that Janie Marvin was putting on, and one of the guys got up there. I think his name was Tom, and he talked about frackles, and he was showing things how it's all broken down, and I'm like,
So cool. So cool.
so our body's riddled with frackles. And we're not talking what's on your cheeks, right? I mean, literally, you break every single molecule down to another molecule to another molecule, and they're full of fractals.
Oh, fractals.
Fractals.
Oh, you were saying frackles, and I was like, what is? But fractals, I understand. Okay,
Fractals, yeah.
I actually thought
Yeah.
fractals, and I was like, okay, let's lean into this frackle word.
Well,
So
you know,
fractals, yeah,
I say
fractals are a
words
thing.
differently. You know,
Yeah.
I grew up in West Jordan. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. You know, it's like when I went to Kentucky,
Fractals.
I called them jiggers, and they're called something else, but to me, they're jiggers. Okay?
Nice.
Some of you may know what I'm talking about. But anyways, you know, so yeah, I have really become a firm believer in a lot of that, you know, and again, too, words hurt, right? I mean,
They
words
can, yes.
words can be very, very harmful. We can have somebody do something to us, and it could traumatize us and it can hurt us. However, what I have been finding out, when something is said to us, that sticks a heck of a lot longer. And labeling yourself, you were talking about addiction, you know, and I spoke with Janan about this when she'd go to AA meetings, and you see a lot of people get up and go, yeah, I'm so-and-so, and I'm an addict and alcoholic.
Yeah.
And you're like,
But they've been in recovery for 5 years, so are they really? What I really loved when we were at the state capitol last week for the Rally for Life, that's what it was called, right? The Rally for
Something like that.
Rally for Recovery. Rally for Recovery.
Yeah,
Everyone that got up and spoke, they said, hi, I'm so-and-so, and I'm in long-term recovery. And the place would just erupt.
Yeah.
They didn't label themselves.
Right.
Except for the part of, I'm in recovery.
Yeah.
I'm not an addict.
yeah,
I'm in recovery, and I'm
Yeah.
doing great.
yeah.
yeah.
You know, and it goes back to the mind again, right?
The words, the intent that you do.
The words,
Because
yeah,
also
intent.
like, I love in your past show with Kayla Jensen and Tiffany Nacarado.
Yeah, yeah.
Hope I got that last name
Yeah,
right.
you did.
But like their verbiage is really important because it's like being on the other side and teaching other people, even with Candace Platter, and just like how to like talk to a person, but like we don't need to just take that to an addict. It's like actually be careful with what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, how's your addiction recovery going? You said addiction first, and like how words, and especially the
Yeah.
English word,
Yeah.
we go from left to right. We build from left to right, and so that addiction is the first thing we hear. And so so it's like, how's your recovery?
Right.
Like,
That's something I learned when I did that CPSS training, is that you don't ever say I'm an addict, because you're not anymore. You say I'm a person in long-term recovery. So we learned that in our
the training.
And it really does change things for
It
you.
really
you know,
does.
because like Al said, I used to say that a lot when I was at the AA meetings, but now I say it because everybody else says it, and that's
Yeah.
the kind of way. So it really doesn't have any meaning to me when I say it. But I used to say, I'm Janan and I'm an alcoholic, and he can't stand when I say that because I'm not anymore, you know. But I think the intention behind it is really words are everything, like I said.
Yeah.
And so you really should just watch what you say and how you say
yeah.
it.
And then also
Your
the intent. 'Cause
behind it.
I also love what you said, like when you say like, I say I'm an alcoholic, but I don't believe it.
Right.
So you can still say it, but then you're like, I'm an alcoholic, and then you're like, no, I'm not. In your head, you're just like,
Right, right.
definitely not. So
Yeah, it's just
goes-
something I have to
goes
say
into that
because that's
intent.
how the meeting
Yeah,
works.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so like that's why like I just like the stigma of addiction, of the people on the streets, all those things like
Yeah.
had its purpose. I think we just need to rein it back a little bit, just
Oh,
in my
for sure.
opinion, because the stigma is like what we as human beings and as a society create.
Right.
We create that.
Even-
it's just another stereotype.
Even other addicts have a stigma against other addicts.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
they're like, oh, I can't believe that guy is an addict. No way.
Yeah,
There's,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
even other
they
addicts were just
judge
like-
them. They
yeah.
judge them like they think they
I
know.
chose alcohol,
Yeah.
but you chose heroin. You're worse than me. It's like you're still both
Yeah,
hurting. Like
yeah.
you're still overusing. So maybe
Yeah.
it's not like addicted. It's just overusage, or you don't have the right relationship with it. Like relationship is how I have helped myself in my own recovery. With it is just building a relationship with it. It's like the friends that you have. You're like, I have that friend that like I talk with like a couple times a year. That's my relationship to alcohol. On like certain like times of the year. I hit you up when I want like to celebrate something, and there's not that many things. Like, I mean, I could celebrate every day, so I have to be careful with that, but that's my friend that I call upon for during that time. Like, it's your relationship with it. If you overuse it, you can't have that friend that hangs out every day.
No,
That person
you
will
can't.
break up with you
No,
really
you
fast.
Well, it's just like with pretty much anything. It's like if we fall into depression, I mean, it's okay for us to feel our feelings, because you said it early in the show, Mason. God's given us all these feelings and these emotions. It's built in us, and we're allowed to have those, even though society is doing its best to change us to say you are not allowed to cry, you're not allowed to get mad. However, the trick is too, like you said, we don't stay there. We feel our feelings, we do what we need to do to learn from it, and then we kick it off to the side and we move on, right? And something else is going to come up, because that's just what life does to us.
That's who we are. It's a chemical reaction to everything.
However, we
'Cause
just
emotion comes from, it's actually a combination word, because some people don't want to say it. It's, when you break it down, it comes from energy in motion, which is still, it's energy. Emotion is energy. Like, you go to like those people who like get their gifts in the movies and stuff like that. I was really angry, and so I destroyed that bus. Like, like those emotions can fuel and give you that energy and that power. And then like me studying emotion and stuff like that, just typically, and like how it should, just like the chemical process of emotion at most only lasts 90 seconds.
Really?
90 seconds.
Yeah.
That whole chemical process. What happens after that is if our mind chooses, or if we choose to hang on to that. And then it goes from an emotion to a mood.
Yeah.
And then like it goes into like, it steps into like other ones, into like a whole like spiral, or into a whole condition, or then the last one, it becomes a temperament. And those are all things that we choose to do. But the chemical process and everything that happens with just emotion, from like hypothalamus, everything, like each emotion comes from a different part, but also where those energy,
Yeah.
where
Everything
chakra
The
lines
lines
up.
chakras.
that emotion like creates it.
Yeah.
90 seconds.
Yeah.
That is what our body, everything that happens after that, we are choosing and deciding to hold on
And
to.
that's been study
Exactly.
after study after study. This is not something you're just saying.
no, I'm not
it's
just saying
because
that.
I've heard a lot of
talked with
people
therapists
say
and life coaches about it too.
with
You're,
smoking.
you're smart.
Very
smart.
Yeah, people.
Yeah.
People who have gone to quit smoking has basically said that as they were starting to wing off because they wanted to quit smoking. They would get that. I'm stressed. Okay, I need a cigarette.
Yeah.
And
It takes 3 seconds.
they learned different tools to say, okay, how can I get rid of this? And after that 90 seconds, it's like that urge was gone. Now, of course, when they're first doing it, it's like it comes back quickly. It can come back a couple minutes later.
because you created a habit.
However, because of the habit, right? And it's also proven you can break a habit in 7 days.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's just with the right process and the right training,
Oh,
the
I
right
thought it-
the right mind.
I thought it was
thing.
21 days.
It's the
but-
discipline.
It's
like,
the
that's
discipline, yeah.
The like big thing. It's like the self-discipline, and that can be hard sometimes.
Yeah.
'cause
Oh, yeah.
If you can do
Yeah.
it to someone else, or like put something else, and you're like, this is discipline. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it's a little much easier.
I just had. We'll get ready to wrap up this show
Okay.
here. I just want to share something. I just had some dinner with a childhood friend of mine here at the beginning of the week, and every time I see him, he's like, "Yeah, I need to get going to the gym again." And I'm like, "You've been telling me this for 4 years." I mean, seriously, 4 years. And then
there.
he's like, I got some issues with my shoulder, and I'm like, okay, I've heard this for 2. And I was telling him when I first started getting started, I decided to get back into the gym, get back in shape, and start helping my thought pattern. And I just started going just here and there. And I went 3 days a week for quite a few years, and then I finally started
Because
going
5 days right now.
days a week. You know, and I told him, I says, it's so damn ingrained in me right now. I'm like, if I miss a day, I feel guilty. I mean, seriously, I feel guilty because it's like I'm starving my body of something that it flipping needs, and I need this. You know, and it's crazy, but I have formed that. You know, and I mean, I tried to go twice yesterday, and both times it was closed because of all the snow that we were getting. And it was really bugging me. I was actually starting to get irritated. I'm like, my gosh,
It's
I can't
okay
go.
to
I
miss a
can't
day,
go to the
though.
gym. Well, I had to change my thought pattern and go, okay, you know what? It's all right. I get to go tomorrow. I'll be there tomorrow, and I was there. You know, I was there this morning on my normal time, and it felt good to get there. But anyways, so. Mason, we'll finish up this show, man. This has been an awesome show. I loved where this has gone as far. And some of our audience, maybe they're saying, I don't know how that kind of had to do with mental health and also the stigma. I mean, we talked a lot about the stigma that was in there. However, I believe, for me, again, my belief, everything that we talked about with the mind and different things, that's all part of mental health, right? It's still coming from right.
It's all mental health.
Coming
Just
from
like physical health,
right
working
here.
out, where the words you put in. Because
it's the same
think about
thing.
what's going on in your head. Words. Or like feelings, emotion. Like that is mental health.
It's all mental health.
Like, hey, look, guess what? I love myself. I just did 5 mental bicep curls.
There you go. Perfect way of looking at it. Yeah. I love it. What is there something that you would really like to share? What would be your main message for our audience today?
I thought I had this prepared, and like my mind just goes blank. But it's just
That's
like,
right.
you know what, guys? Like, keep going. Do your research, but also like research yourself first. Like, because we were talking about like all those other things. You have your addictions, you have these things. Research why you're doing it. Like, ask yourself. Like, create a relationship with yourself. And do that, because like if you can't love yourself, RuPaul, how the heck are you going to love somebody else? And so if you don't know what's wrong with you, how are you going to be able to know what's wrong with other people in your relationship with them? Like, learn yourself, dude. Like, be yourself.
I agree.
Who are you? Like, who are you and what do you want to be? Like, don't just Google search, like, what do you want to be? How do you do that? This is wrong with me. How do I fix that? Like, some people can help. We can always help ourselves. The best. We're our own best friends. We come out of the womb with ourselves, and we walk out of this world with ourselves. So.
Okay, great message.
Perfect.
Is there anything you'd like to say before we sign off?
No, I don't think so. I think this was really great, and
Okay.
I think you had a lot of information for people. So,
Yeah, great show, guys. And again, thank you to both of you for being here with us today. And Mason, it was great to have you here on the other side. Really?
Yeah, on the other side.
On the other side. Because, you know, it's cool that we get to have, like, you and, you know, Sylvia on the show every once in a while, and we get to chat a little bit and talk
She's
about
doing
things
the
that
peace
are ailing
sign.
us. And, so anyways, you know, hey, we just want to say thank you to everybody again. Just as I do my best to do this at the end of every show. We just want to say thank you to all our sponsors and all our listeners, all our guests co-hosts, Resilience Talk Network, to everyone who believes in what we're doing. We've got people like Sylvia's ex-husband Glenn, man, who just really believes in the show, and he's given us a lot of great suggestions. Really has helped us out with a lot of our camera stuff and our lighting and so many different things. We got people that have helped us, like Anna, with our social media. You know, and we're doing our best to continue to get this show to grow, make it a better quality show. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but there has been a few changes here in the last umpteen weeks. I've got people who are helping me become a better host, and I just want to say thank you to everyone for that, because, you know, we all need help. You know, we can't do it on our own. However, we have to start it on our own, right? Mason kind of touched on it there at the end, where we've got ourselves, man, and we can make that difference. We can definitely do it.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer in, as long as you take a step forward, and that step only has to be an inch. It can be a half inch as long as it's forward. And before you know it, it's going to be a normal step, and before you know it, it's going to be a walk, and then before you realize it, it's going to be a run. You know, it just continues to roll. So again, thank you to everyone. Greatly appreciate you. And we'll leave you with this as we do at the end of every show. Remember, addiction is giving up everything for one thing, and recovery is giving up one thing for everything. Well,